Hey there, I'm Becky, and welcome to Literary Escapes with me, Becky.
Thanks for joining me today as we talk about all kinds of great bookish escapes.
Today I have the pleasure of talking with author Connie Mann. If you're a fan of romantic suspense, heavy on the suspense, you're going to want to stick around. Let's jump right in. Welcome, Connie. I am so excited to have you on Literary Escapes podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, I always love our conversations, and it's been a little while since we've talked, and so I'm excited to catch up and see how you're doing and how your books are doing.
Oh, thank you. And it's always so much fun to chat with you. So I'm looking forward to it today. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, it has been a minute, hasn't it?
It has been a minute. Yeah. And it's funny because the last time we talked, I think, was back in March at the Star Writer Conference. And book 3, you weren't even sure when it was coming out. Now it's coming out this month. And
I know.
So we're going to talk about that. But before we jump into that, I wanted to find out. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about like what you like to write.
So I love to write romantic suspense. And people sometimes say, well, exactly what is that? And the way I put it to people is always they're in danger while they're falling in love.
Yeah.
Right. Falling in love is not convenient. It's not what they're planning on. They've got other fish to fry, but it happens. And so it's kind of part of the push-pull of the whole story of the fact that they've got suspense and mystery and things happening and bad guys and this inconvenient, attraction thing in the middle.
I like that.
Makes it fun for me. Yeah.
Well, and that's a really good way to describe your books, because the action and the suspense is such a big part of the story. That is the story. There's a romance there that is important, but you have a really good suspense, keeps you on the edge of your seat book.
No, thank you so much.
I enjoy your books. You're one of my favorite authors. And so I really enjoy your books. And I had the pleasure of plowing through book 3 recently. And so, like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I was excited to get that copy. So thank you for that.
Of course.
So I know that you, in another life, and maybe still in this one, were a boat captain.
I still am.
Are you? Okay. I was curious about that. I wasn't sure. I know you moved from Ocala area, and so I wasn't sure if you left the boat captaining at that point or not.
I don't captain as much as I used to, but if anybody ever visits New Smyrna Beach, Marine Discovery Center in New Smyrna
I love that
Beach,
place. Yeah.
Has boat tours, eco tours. And so I get to go out there every so often and take people to see dolphins and sunsets and stuff. So
lovely.
It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. It might as well be me.
Indeed. Indeed.
So I do enjoy that. So instead of showing people alligators like I did before, now it's dolphins more than anything.
Nice. And so New Smyrna is like the shark capital of the world. Do you ever see sharks on your tours?
No.
Okay.
No. Usually we operate on the intercoastal. If we find them, they're more likely to be at the mouth of the inlet.
Okay.
And we may go up that way on the evening tour to take a peek, but most of the time we are inside the intercoastal. And of course we have lots of dolphins that live in the ICWs. So that's always fun when you get people excited to see them jump.
They're so fun. Yeah, they're so playful. Cool. I love seeing dolphin. It's always
fabulous.
A treat.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it very, very much.
So your Florida Wildlife Warriors series, and that was inspired from where you used to live and work, and that was in the Ocala Forest area, and you were a boat captain on, I think it was the Silver River. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did this series, what inspired it? How did it form in your head? That's not a very good question, but
no, it's true. It's because it's got to come from somewhere. Like anything else, I think it's always a combination of things. But one of the things you hear from editors all the time, right, which can be, by the way, maddening for authors, is that they want same but different.
Exactly.
Okay. And you go, what does that
What
even
does that mean?
Right. What do I do with that? So when I started meeting through my job some of the fish and wildlife officers, I realized that, ooh, these are same but different. They are
Okay.
cops, they are law enforcement, they are statewide law enforcement, which a lot of people don't realize. Your sheriff's departments and your, police departments, they are constrained by geography, right?
They have
A
boundaries. Yeah.
yeah, they have a jurisdiction. Fish and wildlife can operate all over the state. And
Dang.
a lot
Okay.
of people don't realize that. They'll, call them a fish cop, right? A
Hmm.
derogatory term. They don't realize that they have way more authority than that.
Isn't that
Uh,
interesting? Yeah.
yeah. And certainly what I found interesting is that they take the lead on any kind of marine accident or anything like that. They'll work with the local sheriff's department or police department, but they take the lead when it
Okay.
comes to marine things or wildlife, right? Situations.
Okay.
So to me, that was sort of a fascinating take on general police officers, right? It
For
was like,
sure.
okay, it's same but different. And I'd met some of them and they're just cool people. And I thought, well, that's fun. So let's set a series when then I get to do some of the cool wildlife stuff that makes Central Florida pretty awesome
Right.
anyway. The Ocala National Forest is like 600,000 acres. There's a
Dang.
lot of cool
There's a lot
stuff
of
in
stuff
there.
going on in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
gave me a chance to put, gators and bears and all kinds of and waterways
The
and,
monkeys was in book
yeah, the
two. Yeah.
rhesus macaques and all kinds of stuff that isn't typical, right?
Well,
So
yeah, usually when books are written set in Florida, you get kind of the glitzy Miami,
right,
maybe, or the small town coastal, sweet, fun, beachy stuff, that kind of
right.
thing. You
Yeah.
don't typically get the inner stuff of Florida.
Exactly. Exactly. Or sort of the old Florida,
Right.
feel of
Right.
stuff like that. And so that was really fun. Yeah. I think when I pitched the story idea, it was like if you get beyond the glitz and glamour of Miami and Disney's magic, you're gonna find
Exactly.
the real Florida. The
That's
Florida's
exactly right.
wilderness areas. And people go, wait, that's in Florida? Because they think beaches, Disney, Miami.
That's
That's what
right.
people think of when they hear Florida. So
That's right.
I was trying to take a different corner of our really cool state and shine a little bit of a
Yeah.
spotlight that way.
I love that because Florida has so much stuff that people never see.
Yes.
And in your books, they do get a good sense of all of that wildness, which I thought was kind of fun. Being a
Well, it's
Florida
fun for
girl.
me because then I get to do, something that's different
And
that you don't.
everything that you put in your books is like everything that scares me about Florida. So
Well, I will admit that I am not a fan of snakes. I have
yeah,
tried to talk my way out of that particular fear, but no,
it
it's
doesn't
still
work.
like no.
Yeah. And
I can
alligators.
deal
I
with.
mean, even though they're not like part of my life, they scare the heck out of me. And they're everywhere.
They are, yeah. Anything bigger than a mud puddle in Florida,
Yeah.
you're
You're
gonna
going to have
see
an
a
alligator in it
gator there.
probably.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them where we live now, and that is not really hurting my feelings any.
I
So,
hear you. I
but
hear
they're
you.
cool. They play an important role, and they're fascinating creatures. I mean, they've been around for so long, so
They
that's kind
are.
of
Yeah. They survive
kind of
anything and everything. Yeah.
yeah,
That's,
yeah,
yeah.
very
Okay.
cool.
So you've got this Wildlife Warrior series. There's 3 books. Is that it for it? Do you feel good about that or?
I feel good about that. It was originally envisioned as a 3-book series,
Okay.
so I think I'm at the end of this one. I hope you think I did. I tried to sort
Hmm.
of wrap up the loose ends that were
Yeah.
out there and kind of give a sense that our people are going to be
Everybody's
okay
good. Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
live
like
on.
that about series. Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, I don't have any plans to continue it. I do have another new series that's very, very different that my agent is shopping that's not based out of Florida. So, but
Interesting. Okay.
it's more adventure than anything else. A
Okay.
group of women, and they kind of rescue other women from things. And
Nice. We'll
there's
talk about
some,
that in just a second. So,
yeah. So probably this is it for this series.
okay.
That's
Well,
this
yeah,
point.
like you did wrap it up well, and it's well worth people plowing through all three books, in my
Oh, thank
opinion.
you.
So it starts with, it has three siblings who are,
Mhm.
each one has their own book and their significant other. Um, and I like that, like Charlie, the first book, Charlie and Hunter,
Mhm.
they are friends. So you've got kind of the friends to lover trope,
Right.
and I
Right.
like that. That's
Yeah.
always
She was fun and he was hot. So it was a
exactly
good
always fun to
story.
write. Always fun to write and read about that. So that's always nice. And Beyond Power, Josh and Delilah.
Mhm.
That story, I really like the last one, Beyond Fear, but man, Beyond Power just blew me away because there was so much in there that I had no idea was going on in, in the forest. It kind of
Yeah,
freaked me out a little bit.
there can be some interesting things that happen in the forest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, some crazy people. Um, well, people who live differently than I do, maybe I should say. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that deliberately live off the grid out
Hmm.
there, and more so I think than a lot of people realize.
Yeah,
And there's also some very low income folks out there and homeless folks and
yeah.
those, like the community center that I put in there was based on some of the research I did of different organizations that are trying to help with
Okay.
some of the people, families that are living in tents out there in some cases. So, things you don't realize. It's a
Yeah.
place and there's a lot of different layers to what can happen out there. And I had fun in that story because for anybody that doesn't know, yes, there are wild monkeys in Florida.
Yeah.
They're not native, and they were brought there by a boat captain many years ago to get people to take his jungle cruise ride. Uh,
Was this at Silver Springs?
it was on the Silver River. It
Okay.
was on the Silver River. He had a boat concession of his own, and he wanted people to come take that boat ride. So he imports this troop of rhesus macaques from Southeast Asia, puts them on an island, and when he comes back, they're gone because he didn't realize they can swim. So
I
they ate
love
all his
that.
monkey food, took off, and so they've been there like it's the 30. It was in the 30s. So we're going on
Almost
100
100
years.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the pendulum swings back and forth, and there's really strong opinions for and against the monkeys, right?
Hmm.
Because some people say they're not native, they need to go. And others say they've been here almost 100 years. At what point do we quit calling them invasive? Like
Yeah.
where's the line? And people are passionate in both directions on both sides
Right.
of, yeah. And so Fish and Wildlife is tasked with managing that population, right? And so that's been an interesting thing for them as well, because, yeah,
Well,
it's
and
a,
that was a fun one in book two and Beyond Power. You have the fish and wildlife guy who is tasked with managing them, and he is against them being there for the most
sort
part.
of, he kind of rides that
Yeah.
official line that says it's our job to manage them.
Right. And then you've got Delilah, who is passionate about them and researching and all of that. So
Right.
I enjoyed the playoff of, both sides of that issue. And I thought you handled all of that really interestingly.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yeah, that
That was
was,
very fun to write both sides of that because when you live there, you've heard both sides, of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would imagine you have. Yeah. That's
yeah.
interesting. And being on the river, did you see the monkeys when you
Oh yeah.
were
Oh
tour?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I took fifth graders for 13 years. I worked for the school board in Marion County, part of the Silver River Museum, and we took kids out, and that was an exciting day. You didn't see them every day, but if we happened
Okay.
upon a troop out there, that was pretty exciting
That's a
stuff.
pretty awesome day. Yep.
Yep.
Got to say you
Yep.
saw the monkeys. That's good
Yes.
stuff.
Exactly.
And so book three is coming out at the end of the month on November
Yeah.
29th.
It is. It
And this
is.
is the final sibling, but he's not part of the fish and wildlife. He is a sheriff.
Right.
And
Right.
so tell us a little bit about his story.
Well, he's yeah, he's a good friend of the other, his obviously his siblings he's close to, but also Hunter and some of the other guys that are part of the FWC team. And I set it up that way because, like I said, Fish and Wildlife and the Sheriff's Department often work very, very closely together.
Yeah,
So
I would
there's
think so.
that made that happen. But the challenge, I think, for me for this story was that Lisa is a pretty tough cookie, right? And when you have a tough heroine, and he's kind of the bulldozer, right? He's
Yeah.
just take charge and lead follower, get out of the way kind of a guy.
Right, right.
So, and she's not going to let him lead, right? If it's her investigation. So we have that. But for people, there's always the danger that if the heroine is too strong, people deem her unlikable, right? If her
How
chip on her
curious.
shoulder. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to find that line of showing some of her vulnerabilities. So you realize why she has the chip on her shoulder and show her
Without
kind of
making her a wimp or, without
exactly.
lessening her power.
Right. So that was kind of a fun challenge there to say, okay, throw these two strong, strong personalities together.
Yeah, because they butt heads a lot, which was
They,
fun.
they did. I thought it was fun to write, where they butt heads and then slowly she's like, okay, maybe he's not so bad after all, but we have to work together. So there's that whole conflict of,
Right. And
you
they
got to
both
keep
are
that.
leading
Right. Exactly.
in their own areas. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I thought that
So
was a lot of fun.
that made that kind of fun, as far as that goes. And the idea of, there's some, I won't go too far into it, but the idea that maybe there's illegal game hunting going on out there, that can come
Is
up.
has that ever been an issue in real life, I guess, in that area, or do you know?
I don't know exactly,
Okay.
but it could, I feel like, because there
Yeah.
are like some preserves out there, that have some exotic animals. So,
I think I remember reading about an elephant one in that area. Is that
I believe there was, yeah, whether it
okay?
still is or not. Things changed a lot after COVID, so I'd have to go
Yeah.
back and check. But there were
Yeah.
some great sanctuaries, that were doing good work. So I think what happened was I took that idea, my writer brain went, ooh, but what
We could have
if?
fun with this. Yeah.
So that's how a lot of that happens. You said, how do these stories come to be? Usually there's a lot of, ooh, but what about if we did that?
So we've got this nice, cool thing, but
But if I turn it on its head and make it
Ex-
suspenseful, then,
yeah.
so that's kind of how my brain hops, skips, and jumps its way to all of that. So
So
I kind
when
of,
you write a romantic suspense,
mhm.
there has to be a bad guy or bad guys. You
Yep.
have to have red herrings and clues along the way. Are you a planner or do you just plow into it?
I'm a little of both.
Okay.
I'm a little of both. I use, for anybody who's a writer, the Blake Snyder Save the Cat series.
Okay.
Of books for planning, and basically that gives me sort of a skeleton to hang a story on. I need to
Okay.
know who all my characters are, who's my bad guy, right? Because he has to be a worthwhile villain or it doesn't work.
Right.
So who's my bad guy? Who are my good guys, right? I've got my hero and heroine and my villain. How does it start? How does it end? And what are the big things that have to happen throughout the
Yeah.
story?
To
Yeah.
keep it
And then
moving.
I have sort of a list of some of the things and I start looking for cool things that could happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
is fun. And then I start writing. And I usually I'm not doing Nano this year, the
Okay.
National Novel Writing Month. I have in the past though, because it's a great way for me to just spew out a
Knock
story.
out some
Right?
words. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to puke out that first draft as fast as I can to get it out of my head. And
Yeah.
then I go back and do some more planning and I sort of chart it to see what I have, where my holes are, where my clues need to be beefed up or more or whatever. And
Yeah.
then I can go back and layer in more of that. But
Nice.
initially it's got to be that first,
Just get
spit
the
it out.
story out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go back and I go, oh, wait, we need some more clues here, or we've, this character hasn't showed up for 7 chapters. We probably need to add them
Oh
back in.
yeah.
So
and you have to think about like your other two books when it's a series
yes.
and putting those people in and giving a little glimpse of their lives, right?
Right, because the books, if anybody has not read the other two, they are deliberately written so you can read them as standalones.
Yeah.
That's intentional. Because I get frustrated when if I read a series out of order, then I feel like I have missed all kinds of important information, and I've tried not to do that. Each one is its standalone story that closes at the end with resolves the mystery for that story.
Right.
And resolves, all of that. But they are connected in the sense of the relationship between the characters, right? That they keep going, because
Yeah.
they're all family. So, but you can read them as standalones, so that matters to me. But also, what people have told me that they really enjoy about my books is they don't want to know who the villain is too soon. They
Yeah.
like putting the puzzle together.
Yeah.
So I need to give them enough red herrings to where they're going, well, it could be that guy, but maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
that one, or what about her, or whatever. You've probably read books, and I have, where if by chapter 2 I already know who the villain is, sometimes, I mean, that's a deliberate choice a writer makes, and it's, do you keep them a secret to keep people guessing,
Right.
or do you tell them at the beginning and make it look impossible for your hero and heroine to defeat them, right? So the tension comes
Okay.
from whether they can
Somewhere. Yeah.
defeat them,
Okay.
versus who are they
Who it
fighting they
is.
don't know. And
Okay.
it seems like my readers tend to say we like that way better.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be guessing to try to figure out
Yeah, I like that.
who the bad guy is. So I have been pretty deliberate about setting it up to try anyway. Towards the end, you kind of go, okay, it's down to these two. It's got to be one of them or whatever. But
Okay.
that's been fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Because I've always thought it would just be my brain works where I look at things and like I think, ooh, that could be a mystery or whatever. But then I have no idea how to write a mystery. I might have to try it one day just to either confirm or deny that I do or don't know how to do it. But my brain likes to think, ooh, you see a innocent situation and flip it on its head, like you said.
Right.
I like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. That's a lot of fun.
So release day is November 29th.
November 29th. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
And it'll be available where?
So for sure, print and ebook will be on Amazon. And
Okay.
also print and ebook should be available Barnes and Noble, Kobo, all the other
So pretty much
alphabet soup,
where
Apple.
people, yeah.
Yeah. People
Awesome.
have asked if there's an audiobook at this point. No, there
Okay.
isn't.
Is
I
there audio on the other two?
think there's audio on only one of them.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so I'm not sure. I'd have to go double check again. Sorry, you
Okay.
asked me a
Yeah, it's
question.
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
but
curious.
I know. Yeah, I should know the answer to that.
That's okay. Not a problem. So you hinted at what you're working on next.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about that or whatever you're able to tell us.
Yeah, so that's been an idea that has been brewing for, gosh, 6 years maybe.
Wow.
It wasn't time yet because of other things. But the idea is that it's kind of a secret society of
Okay.
women. So it's women, goes back to like the 1500s, but it's not organized like some of your very organized ones, but there
Okay.
is definitely sort of a symbol, and it's basically, if you see the symbol, go help. So these are some women come from very different walks of life and have a different skill sets, not necessarily like superheroes, okay, but they
Okay.
have some cool skills and they come together to do some cool things.
Nice.
So in the first one, it's has to do with there's like dual storylines.
Okay. And are they
And
set in the current place?
it is set in
Current.
current time. Yeah,
Okay.
they're contemporary set, and but they are going to be all over the world and not just in one spot.
That's
So
exciting.
so this one's going to be, some of it is going to be in Europe.
Fun.
And there's an old painting involved, and there's some homeless people disappearing involved, and
Interesting. Okay.
we have a lady pilot who can make anything fly, that, with duct tape and whatever. And we've got a former nun on sabbatical who can use disguises to do some stuff, and we've got some other
Nice.
folks doing some cool stuff. So I'm excited. Yeah.
That sounds like a really fun series. How many books do you envision that to be?
Actually, that one may go as far as 6. I have 6 planned
Nice.
out because I've got 6 on my team here. 6
Okay.
women, and I wanted to give each of them their story.
Are they romance or
There's
not
going to be a
necessarily?
hint of it, but more adventure, if
Okay.
that's the right term. More of suspense and adventure with a touch of romance.
Okay.
There
Okay.
may be some men who show up here and there. There is in the first book, who's, an inconvenient government guy that shows up when she'd rather he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's
Okay.
some stolen paintings and some, somebody
Fun
who's
stuff.
kidnapped and boat chases in Venice. How about that? So
Nice. Awesome. That sounds like fun.
It does. I actually wrote it during COVID because I said we need some fun.
For sure.
It's not fluff necessarily of, just no purpose to it
Right.
but it's very much fun to read.
Yeah.
I wanted to write
I
something
like fun to read.
Not dark. I wanted
Yeah.
something that there's still mystery, there's still suspense, all the fun things to solve and figure out, but it's not as dark.
Nice. I like that.
Anyway, I've had fun with it.
I look forward to hearing more about that one when they come out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That'll be a lot of fun. So what are you reading right now?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. Oh, I can tell you, I just finished reading a book by Ramona Richards, who is a friend of mine, called Circle of Vengeance. And this is the second of her Star Kavanaugh cold case investigator series.
Ooh, okay.
So there's some dual timelines of like what happened back then. And when she's trying to solve the crime, and she does a fantastic job of weaving those two together and keeping you guessing, which I love.
I love that.
So if you're looking for a fun suspense, I would recommend Circle of Vengeance by Ramona Richards at this point. That's what I have been reading and loving it.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I've not read her before, so I'll have to check that out.
Yes, definitely do. You'll enjoy her books.
Very cool. So where can people find you and hang out with you online?
Oh, yeah. Anytime, Facebook, I'm, Connie Mann. My website is conniemann.com. I'm on Instagram as Captain Connie Mann. So it's CAPT Connie Mann. Like it's abbreviated. Okay. So my handle is CAPT Connie Mann, Captain Connie Mann on Instagram. Those are the main places.
Okay. I'll link all of that in the show notes so that people can get to you easily. And you've got a newsletter.
Yes, I do have a monthly newsletter that goes out around the 20th every month. I never sell that information, but that is where people hear about stuff first.
Okay.
Right? I do special giveaways just for subscribers regularly. I do all the latest news comes out there first. So
cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, Connie, for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun. I appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun catching up with you, and I cannot wait to tout your book when it comes out, and I cannot wait for the next series. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it will. Thanks so much for having me. It is always a pleasure to talk.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me today on the Literary Escape podcast. If you enjoy hearing the behind the book story, then join me in the Literary Escape Society. We're a community of travelers who love books, or maybe book lovers who love to travel. Either way, if you need an escape, a literary escape, come join us as we read our way around the world together, one book at a time. Check out the show notes to learn more about the Literary Escape Society. And we'll see you next time on the next episode.